Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. It is, we're starting with the Lincoln County Old Courthouse Committee tonight. Co-chair Commissioner, we have a quorum, by the way. And if you want to just go through, you want to all state your name just for the record. We'll start with Chris over there. Just state your name and where you're from.
Chris York, City Commissioner of Canton.
Okay, good.
Liz Stanton, Lennox.
Jim Jimin, Lennox.
Jerry Jungling, Chair of the Lincoln County Planning Commission.
Joel Aaron's, County Commission.
Doug McKinney, Canton.
Scott Montgomery, Fairview.
Okay. Well, on our agenda, which Paul put together, we have a committee discussion.
Yeah,
and
one of these.
what I've asked for, committee members, is for John to kind of go over the numbers that were sent out to you, with understanding that these are estimate numbers, right, John?
Correct.
And if you can go through them, so we have that on public record for the public to know about, because all of you were sent a memorandum like this. So do you want to go through that, John, please?
So I'm going to quickly summarize it. So what led to this was originally we were going to hire Arc Inc., who was the architect of this side of the courthouse and has had a lot of knowledge of the build in this site. And they also did the structural analysis and all that for the old courthouse back 5 years ago. And what Arc Inc. was wanting is $10,000 to basically go through and refresh their numbers. As the commission then decided they did not want to pay the $10,000, they asked me to reach out to area experts and contractors to see if I could get a similar, or a number that would maybe show the inflationary increases from what we got 5 years ago. So to start with, we'll just go with the basic demolition. If we were to demolish the old building, from talking to the architects, it looks like they would estimate that it would cost, well, $765,000, or $225,000 just to do the demolition part. Now that's minus anything that would possibly be asbestos. We do know there's some asbestos tile in there. I'm not quite sure what that would cost. But then also $540,000 to basically create a facade and reconnect and to remove the utilities from the old building to the new, because there's a lot of continuous like water, fire mitigation systems all tied together and that. But so they're estimating $540,000 to do that and to build a facade that would look good on the outside. And then what they also said then is that their architectural fee to do all that would probably be between $300,000 and $400,000, which seems like a ton of money for that about a project. But from other experiences, when it starts coming down to them having to do a complete design, like all the way down to landscaping, it's pretty much a very high cost per square foot for architectural work.
John, is that on top of the 540 or is that
That's on
part of the 540?
That's on top of that. Okay. So the overall number then is what becomes $1.29 million.
So that's the asbestos, right?
Plus asbestos.
No, well, so the 1.29 is the number from Spielman. So the number that JLG gave was 225. Spielman estimated something 350. I used 350 on mine. So that's if Spielman wouldn't come in at low. But so the Spielman was just a guess from a local demo expert. But then, yeah, 1.29 in that range. So probably somewhere from
1.1 to 1.4 or something like that, depending on the specification.
Right, I just, Spillman is, I basically got two different quotes for the demolition. Spillman is one of the contractors that's done a lot of work for the county, and he had about $100,000 increase, but he really did it off the top. He just basically, headed out from what he could measure for square footage, different block of building or anything like that. So that's, I don't know if that's an elevated number, but he was about $100,000 or something like that, more expensive than what I got from jail.
John, was there ever a number in 2020 for tearing this building down then?
Absolutely not. no.
There was
We didn't get
nothing ever
that.
said, okay.
So then moving forward, if we were to look, so I reached out then to, got a lot of my information from Courthouse Construction. And when they looked at it, they were actually told me that they were really surprised at how degraded the roof members are from what they thought they would be. And so they felt that what was proposed in 2020 as being steel plating and stuff to just, to strengthen the beams would be totally a temporary or a short-term fix, like up maybe to 20 years. They said they would definitely wouldn't want to see it go beyond 20 years. And that number for just doing that part of the project was going to be $300,000. Just to, and that went up about, well, it was proposed in 2020 at $98,000. So it went up 200%. And what do you call it? Increase.
So that $300,000, John, that's a 20-year short-term fix.
Just to do the plating.
Plating, just the plating on the beams.
Correct.
300,000?
Okay.
So then they said, if you want to utilize this building long-term, beyond 20 years, they would recommend removing all of the roof structure and replacing it with new rafters. And, obviously some gable ends to mimic the facade that's already out here, to make it match this building now, because this building was designed to match that building. And that cost would be $1.6 million just to add that. And of course, that would come with a lot of challenges, because the roof you'd have potential issues with water penetration. It would be a very challenging project to do that. And then, as far as remodeling costs, utilizing their figures for remodeling, they said it'd be $2.9 million to remodel it. And of course, there's a degree of variable of all that, because we don't really know or have anybody here to go into that space. And it's gotta get remodeled more than likely to fit that department or for whatever uses that. But that's based off of just the standard formula number for what it is per square footage for remodeling. So then,
Excuse me, John, that square foot number, is that based on new construction or
it's
something?
remodeling construction price is what they based it off of. And that, they utilize, where do they have that number at? They told me that fact.
170 here, isn't it? 170 a square foot?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think it's 170 something. Right?
Yeah, 170 each.
Yeah, just wondering if
Yeah, there you go.
that's, a building that's 70 years old, 100 years old, 30 years old, there's a lot of different variables in that, yeah.
And they were here, so I mean, I would hope they based it off of what they called that number.
Okay.
Those two individuals that gave me that number walked this building.
And that's just for the second and third floor, right?
Correct, that's not doing anything to you wouldn't utilize any of that space, but it isn't doing anything for basement.
Is that primarily finishes, or is that also HVAC and
No, that's
potential
the
plumbing?
finishes. That's
Okay,
primarily finishes.
thank
So
you.
then the HVAC number is the one number that I have, I struggle to get, and I had to do an educated guess. And everybody will say that, for inflationary reasons, that's the one item that really would have went up in the last 5 years. So basically what I did is I did a 200% increase in that, like we had already in the other, and that's where I came up with a $2.1 million for mechanical. Now that's to change out electrical, if you have to think it's code. Not, when it was discussed back in 2020, it wasn't necessarily bringing it up to electrical. So like, for instance, all electrical panels in the basement are all just a mess of different small panels. Some of them don't fuse boxes, you know what I mean? All that had to get upgraded to modern panels, and that's where all that would be included in that.
So it could be higher than.
It could be higher. Like I said, it's hard for me to go out to a mechanical place and not have a drawing or something because it's just too many variables. You start talking about adding a hot water boiler, well, what's the size of that hot water boiler? You know what I mean? Unless I had all that information, I can't really get accurate numbers. So that's why I had to just kind of go with an educated guess. Sorry. No, I can hear it better now. So anyway, altogether, what we estimate that would be a $6.6 million project.
That's just in the costs.
That's not figuring in architectural,
Engineering.
engineering and architectural. And as we already talked, I mean, I think you could rightfully guess that would be $1 million.
Contingency of $2 million.
Yeah. So as any project, you would put in a contingency. We were utilizing before a 30% contingency because it is an old structure and there's a lot of unknowns.
So we're about 9.6 or close to $10 million.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so they both believed, from Hugendorn, was that, and they're both Lincoln County residents, in their opinion, they didn't feel like it was a valuable investment to put all that money into the old structure.
Okay. Questions for John or Paul?
Well, John, there's another option, and I'm not talking about do nothing. You wanna talk about the other option as well? Just a quick down and dirty fix? Didn't we talk about that in the memo as well?
That's the, yeah. That's the 94 for the shingles plus the 300.
And then you're talking about no HVAC improvements?
Well, yeah, I mean,
There's a lot of variables in that,
Right.
because that's where you start getting into, because you'd have to do the shingles, you'd have to do, which is 94.5. You'd have to do the roof beams for 300. And then depending on what you want to use it for, you gotta upgrade the HVAC and all the environmental systems.
Correct. You know, if you want it just to be structurally brought up to a certain level, but not necessarily remodeling anything and everything, then that number is what?
400, 500,000.
Yeah, $500,000 maybe.
and then was there a number put in there for the windows? Didn't he mention windows as well?
That was included in his number.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, for the 300, yeah.
I call this, I guess for lack of a better term, I guess we'd just call it a short-term fix. Gets us by just in the short term. But Paul, what was the total number on there?
Well, the total number based on what we have is 400,000. But that, again, that 400,000 is just the roof, the shingle replacement and the attic fix. It wouldn't change anything else about what's over there, the environmental, any of that stuff.
Right.
It would just make the roof stable and not leak as much.
I'm not sure that $300,000 included window
It's,
replacement. of it.
in the thing, it says,
The windows were included in another number.
and as you tear into the walls, that would likely expose rot. So, I'll just read what they said in this. If we wanted to buy just a few years of usage, then we could do the structural plating, re-insulate the attic and replace windows and rotten rafters as determined necessary. Our King said 98. Bob and Paul believe the number would be closer to 300,000 now. They believe that more of the timbers are failing than originally determined, and as you tear into the walls and dormers for the window, they will likely expose other rot and issues. Some of the changes in structural condition could be due to the derecho, yada yada, and straight line winds. And the cracks and then the cracks have widened in the last 5 years.
So Hugendorn did give you a written estimate on everything? Or
No.
Nothing
Nothing in writing, no.
Nothing in writing.
And then
But I will tell you, they gave me permission to use these numbers in front of you and to the public.
Right.
and then they kind of gave their professional opinion on what it would cost to build a new two-story, correct?
Yeah,
I mean, it was kind of a swag. It was basically, it would cost the
Yeah.
same as what it would to be remodel, right?
yeah, to, basically for new construction for a two-story to match that, was gonna be what,
You don't want to keep these numbers.
$7 to $8 million.
There's also, I mean, it's something we've discussed, but I don't know how much we've gone into detail here, is the opportunity for new construction that is not a full two-story addition, but just like a one-story, community meeting room that would be, appropriate size for, I mean, these, people have been here on crazy commission meeting days. This room gets full very fast. It gets full for planning and zoning. It gets full very quickly. And so a large community meeting room that could also be utilized by the city of Canton and other community groups is also an option if in terms of replacing something, if you didn't want to do the full facade. But we don't have numbers on it, but it is something that is an also to be considered.
I've got a sheet, some paper here I want to pass out to everybody. I just put some numbers together a little bit.
Thank you.
I guess I've got a question. Is there a need for the square footage of building a new building? Does the county have a need for that? Are we just gonna build a building for building a building?
Scott, a good point, Scott. I looked at that, and we've talked over with both Paul and John. Okay. Really, we don't, because we are leaving, our state attorney is leaving, our sheriff, part of that is leaving. There is adequate space here in this building for the immediate future, now maybe 5-6 years. Then, if you do need additional space, you can modify according to, we can redefine or reconstruct within this building to accommodate that needed extra space. Is that correct?
In my belief, the future growth that we need can be accommodated by this structure. There would be some expense to that because there would have to be some modifications a little bit. I don't know what those numbers would be, but you couldn't just, because you want to keep departments whole, and some of that you might have to remove, might have to add a wall to have some separation. You might need to cut a door in another room to create some flow between the same space. But otherwise, I believe, even all the way down to this commission room, I believe, in my opinion, courtroom, what's currently courtroom 2B, could accommodate the commission and give us some larger size to accommodate that. From having discussions, the reason it'd be attractive to have this other addition on if the old courthouse went away, is because it would be designed to fit the commission better than the courtroom. It'd be set up specifically for that. And also, it would be a large space that we could utilize for other things, because for instance, we just had training here this last weekend, and we've now got a lot of employees. If we wanted to put all of our employees in one space in this courthouse, we couldn't. To do training for everybody, it's
we've just outgrown that to be able to do that in any one particular room. So that would be an attractiveness to that, but it's not saying that I feel that that's necessary.
In the immediate future, the county is gonna be adding on a couple new FTEs that need office space. We're looking at a public defender's office. So you're basically looking at attorneys and paralegals who need to have, you know, for privacy issues, are gonna be in an actual 4 square walled office, right? So you're probably looking 4 or 5 people there. And then, and these are just estimates. I don't want anybody or the public to think that any of these decisions have been made. They haven't. They're just being talked about. You got that. Our state's attorney is gonna get out of this building and go to the new one, like Commissioner Schmidt was saying. And then our sheriff's office will probably move upstairs or something, and then those public defender types will be down in the basement, because then that way the defendants can enter through a different door, so as to maintain their privacy or whatever. So they're not walking through the courthouse. And then, you know, yeah, we got that 2B is gonna open up, because we're not gonna hold court here anymore. So yeah, you've got some, in the immediate short term, we're gonna add on 4 or 5 folks, but at the same time, this building is gonna shed, at least, 20 employees from state's attorney's office?
I would say so. I don't know what they're.
Somewhere around there. So it's probably a net gain of space. That's how it's probably gonna shake out in the immediate future. And then, of course, just government being the way government is, or office space for that matter, whether you're in government or private, whenever there's an empty space, somebody's gonna look to fill it, right? So, but I think what you're saying, John, is this new building is enough to handle us for the next few years, right? Is that what you're
Correct.
saying? Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
You know, and I would add on to that too, if there is a need for a community hall or training center or whatnot, like you said before, we could start saving for that. You know, we can do a study, determine what's actually gonna be needed, and, you know, in maybe 5 years, build that if the need arises.
Doug, you handed out something.
Yep.
I'm gonna give you a chance to.
You wanna go over my
You wanna-
numbers, what I come up
you wanna-
with?
You wanna go over your numbers,
For the,
Doug?
for the tear down and repair, for the tear down, I come up with the same numbers as John does, 1.2 million. And then the average cost of asbestos removal, I looked, and it's anywhere from $5 to $20 a square foot. And just guesstimating, 10,000 square feet, maybe there's not that much here, maybe there's 5,000, I don't know. And if it's 10,000 square feet at $15 a square foot, that's 1.5 million. You know, these are just guessing, John, that's all they are.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's all I could do, so.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, then to repair the old building, I did 94,500 like you did. And I went off Hugendorn's 300,000 for the roof structure. And in 2020, the assessment was to fix the attic upstairs was 38,400. And then I figured 14,000 square feet like we talked about the whole time before. And I figured Hugendorn's $170 a square foot for remodeling. That's 2.3 million. And Hugendorn had 2.9, but it still comes out the same square footage, price per square footage. And I just took the mechanical from 2020, 715. Of course, you gotta add inflation onto that. And that's total of 3,489,000. Okay, then to repair the old courthouse at that price was $166 a square foot. And in the 2020 assessment, it came up to $77 a square foot. And I just went off John's estimates here. You said 6.6 million, John, to fix it all up roughly?
Correct.
That's 21,000 square feet, inside, outside, the whole footprint. That's $314 a square foot. And then Hugendorn had given you $7 to $8 million for 17,000 square feet to build new. That's $441 a square foot. Your Justice Center out here is costing $658 a square foot. The new Turner County Courthouse is $800 a square foot.
Doug, on your estimate here of 3.489 million, you would have to add on there engineering and architect
Right.
fees and contingency. So that would bring you about 3 million, so that'd bring you about to
About
6.5
like John
million.
talked about, yep.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing, I think if you were to do the interior remodel and spend that 2.38, I don't think you could get away with just doing the 300,000 on the roof. I think if you were gonna spend that much on the interior remodel, you'd have to completely redo the roof to the full 20-year thing. Because if you're gonna spend from my perspective, if you're gonna spend whatever the number is, somewhere between 2.3 and 2.9 million dollars on just remodeling, I don't think you can trust a $300,000 roof repair to last for another 20 years. You'd want to go. I would think you would want to go and do that $1.6 million fix, but
Well,
more than just that. If you're going to put that much into the remodeling, you should protect the roof above it too. But I guess I don't know. I mean, maybe there's something to say that the $300,000 fix would be good enough, but.
well, we were just up there and it didn't, I don't think nothing changed from last time we looked.
I sure didn't see anything different than last time we were up there.
And John had stated in his,
So
Paper
you, just
here.
wait, when we were up there, and don't get me wrong, you said that it's definitely widened, and you said the cracks have widened because of what, the heat?
probably the heat.
So,
But I mean, there's dust way back in there, there's no new crack.
I know, I'm just saying, but there's changes, you know what I mean? That's all I'm saying is now, don't get me wrong, maybe not from the wind, but there's changes in the cracking. And that's concerning to me. I know that isn't to you, but I'm just gonna give you my personal belief. That's concerning to me that the cracks have widened.
Well, the two main beams that carry the load, in my opinion, they're good. I mean, that's carrying the load. So, that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
But there's nothing changed, and this building will be here a long time after we're gone, I'm afraid.
I want to shift gears for a minute. We got some numbers to play with. And, you know, they vary. I think we all agreed that the tear down is about $1.3 million. And that is just to tear down the building and finish the facade. So that's it.
Well,
Finish the facade on the front.
Jim, there's a lot more to that yet, because it's stated here that if they could get rid of all the material from this building, local, it would save some money. With the sheriff's office, that all went to Sioux Falls, didn't it?
Correct.
Because they wouldn't take it out here.
Correct.
So, there's gonna be a lot of extra trucking.
Well, I think that was probably figured into it, I don't know.
For $350,000?
The way he said it is the price was the price, and it could go down if they could store it local. So it would go below that 350, but like you said, that they didn't store the old jail stuff local.
So that is totally based off of what
Yeah, I know.
Spillman Excavation said.
Right, yeah.
And yes, when he bid the jobs he bid for us, he was anticipating hopefully hauling a lot of it to Canton. He was unable to do so, so yes, he had a lot of expenses. I will tell you that it doesn't have to go to a landfill, it can go to other places. And there are contractors out there that probably could do it cheaper because they've got other places they could go with it. Now,
But
so,
I find it kinda hard to believe that the price would go down, everything else went up, but tearing the building down has gone down in price.
Anyway, the other part, Doug, you mentioned asbestos. You know, when we built this addition, we took a lot of the asbestos out of that old building. So basically, what asbestos is there is in the tile on the floor. That's it. I mean, there isn't any in the walls, and that's all covered up. So, you know, we can play with numbers here all day long, but we got some guesstimates here of 1.2 to 1.5, or you can add whatever you need to do. And We've got remodeling, one at, just about 10 million, and then we got one at about 6.6. So let's, we can have numbers like that all day. How are we gonna pay for this? Lincoln County does not have any money. So we got two options. One, we can bond, or two, we can opt out. Well, Lincoln County is about bonded out, because we've got bonds for the highway shop that we're paying off. We got bonds left on this building that we're paying off. And we've got $54 million worth of bonds on our Justice Center that we gotta pay off. So in my mind, and Commissioner Joel, you can, excuse me for blacking here, Joel, you can chime in. But we need to, we're gonna have to have an opt-out.
I'm not gonna bail you out. You're doing great. Just keep going.
Okay, I'm saying we're gonna have to have an opt-out, that we are going to spend whatever this committee recommends, not necessarily to the commission, and then what the commission finally decides on what they feel is the best interest for the future. So be prepared, you know, if we do an opt-out, there'll probably be a vote on that one, and people will say what they want to say. So that's our only source of revenue here that we have. So Commissioner Aaron's, what do you think?
Well, I'm gonna ask this question. Does anybody think there is value in getting Hogadorn or someone else to actually get us in writing some estimates above and beyond what we have right now? Or is that a bridge too far,
A
John?
little bit.
Sorry, say that again,
Well, is there any value? You know, because if we're gonna chase this horse further out into the pasture, is there more value in getting Hogadorn or someone else to give us better numbers as to what there's basically 4 options on the table here. 5 if you say do nothing. But option number 1 is basically this $500,000 Band-Aid that keeps that building going, I'll call it status quo, but with a little bit of repair, right? Most immediate type needs in order to keep it limping along. Option number 2 is 1.2 million. Option number 3 is, 6.6 million. Option number 4 is basically 10 million, right? We got 4 options. Can we get somebody to further refine those numbers for us? Or am I just chasing the rabbit too far down the hole here, and is there just no value in doing that at all?
I mean, it's still gonna be an educated guess. In my opinion, I don't see, they're basing it off of what they see as the current rates of industry standards for remodeling and new builds. And I think that's the best you can do right now, because we don't know what the space is gonna be used for, and I just think that's the best we could get. So we could go to another company and would hope maybe there'd be similar numbers. I will say that the asbestos tile, I don't see that being $1 million project.
No, I'm just.
Originally,
I'm just
there was a lot of asbestos tile that was going to be in the old jail, and I think that would have cost like $30,000 is what that cost. There was a lot more, I think, in that building than what's currently in this building. But I couldn't say that because I don't know. There's a lot of carpet covering stuff. I had to make some assumptions because that's exactly what the asbestos people would do too. I think the rate you were utilizing is for any type of asbestos removal, any friable asbestos is a lot more money than asbestos tile removal.
John,
I just kind of took an average and,
Yeah, I get it. It's all an educated
Right,
guess, so
yeah,
I
that's all
applaud
it's
you coming up with
okay,
these numbers.
well, I'll just say this about Bob Weirheim, he's my cousin. I've known him my entire life. He used to live in Little Rock. He used to work for Jan's Corporation. Now he works for Hogadorn. He knows what he's talking. He's been in the construction trades his whole life, and he's been doing this for quite a while. So if Bob says that those are the numbers, I take him at face value.
I think to go any farther, it would probably take a lot more money. I mean, you'd probably have to do a complete survey study of the building, get in depth with architects and engineers. I mean, you're gonna want someone to put their name to it. You know, this wall is this good, this wall needs this type of good, and that's gonna be a couple hundreds of $1,000s to get that really accurate number.
I would agree.
I guess, I look at this and, you know, I think you gotta trust some of the experts here. And, you know, Bob and Paul both basically stated in our handouts that we have that, as professionals to the trade and Lincoln County residents, the best option would be to tear it down. You know, I'm a taxpayer, as much as I'd love to see this thing, why are we spending a bunch of money? If we have two experts saying this is in their best opinion, I guess I'm gonna trust them, that they know more than I do on this, and I think that that's what we ought to do.
I think you got two things there. I don't think there's any argument that they're the experts. I think there's a concern that if you cannot get public consensus to support some kind of new construction, then knocking down the old building is kind of like shooting yourself in the foot because you lose all the square footage. So I'm not arguing with the fact that, you know, maybe that works out in the long term, but then there's this equally compelling argument that, and I think you don't have to have been alive for very many years to understand that folks in Lincoln County right now don't have an appetite to raise their taxes. You'd have to be ignoring reality to understand that. And so I don't think there's any mood to want to spend $10 million on something that frankly, this is not an emergency. It would be nice to have, and we will need to have it in the future, but if you kind of categorize it as what your most important needs are right now, I don't think too many taxpayers, but I also don't think very many people even in this courthouse are going to say, oh geez, I wish I had 21,000 more square feet right now when we're shipping off 20 plus employees to another building, right? So I think folks are going to say it's more of a want than a need. And then I think when you look at it that way, people are going to kind of say to themselves, okay, well, can you make this thing limp along? But the problem with limping along is it's going to nickel and dime us too. And the question is, how much is it going to nickel and dime us, and when does it get to the point it's just like, should I keep fixing my old car or should I go buy a new one?
Not to mention, there's the potential risk to life, safety, and welfare that adds dollars insurance-wise, and just the potential for life to be lost.
I think once people get a look of our new facility and have a chance to be in it, they're going to be like, well, why are we spending money on this facility? We should be spending it over at the other building.
Chris, you haven't said much over there, or Chad?
Of course, you know I have something to say.
Time to speak up here.
Well, unfortunately, not having heard the first 30 minutes of the meeting, I apologize for that. Duty called there. And so I may have missed some discussion, but I'm going to bounce back to how I'll maybe just sum up my entire observation and feelings with a question. And that question is how do you put a price, how do you put a number on one of the most historical structures in Lincoln County? And I'll maybe just leave it at that until we get a little further into it and I get caught up to a little bit.
Okay.
So that's where I've made that very well known from the very beginning that my voice is gonna do everything possible to try to save that building.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Chris, comments?
My comments would be, that's a higher number than I anticipated for a complete remodel. So the demo is appealing, but it's hard to think about seeing Canton without such a historical structure, you know? It's, seeing the numbers are obviously glaring at you saying, knock it down, but at the same time, hold on, what else can be done? And like Commissioner Aaron says, it's not an emergency. Not right now. We need to hurry up and do something. The $400,000 roof and shingles might be what needs to be done. I don't want to say that, but what can get us by for a while?
Okay. Scott?
I really don't know. If you put nothing but dollars on it, does it make sense to keep it? No. I have to agree with Chad. What price tag can you put on the most historic building in Lincoln County? The taxpayers will only stand for so much, I'll guarantee you that.
Yeah.
We're sick of taxes.
Yeah.
Everybody is. So, that's all I'm gonna say for right now.
Okay. I haven't made a comment, but from a budget standpoint, what we're looking for our commission is we're looking at a lot of different issues that are gonna come down on and we've got a state that is working to try to lower property taxes. We've got a bill that, may or may not help us in that, but our revenue on that situation will reduce because we live on growth, and when we're only able to capture 2% of the growth that may or may not exceed 3% or even more than that, that limits our revenue. So then, from my mind, you gotta say, okay, where does this extra money come from? Notwithstanding the historic value, Scott, I think you probably said it the best. How do you do that? How do you weigh that? And if you gotta go to the taxpayers and you gotta say, we're going to opt out for whether it's $6 or whether it's $10 million, that's gonna jack the price of everybody's house. And they're fed up with taxes and they're fed up with increases. So, there's gonna be some very sad situations here. Now, I'm gonna say this, if you look at the taxpayers, and that's not that they're insensitive, but the taxpayers of all over the county, especially in the north, they don't have the same association or relation with the building. They don't have much. I mean, Chad, I've told you, I have a lot of association with that, as many of you do. So if you put this to a vote, they're not gonna say, I know what they're gonna say. They're gonna say what former Commissioner Gibbons said. On the other hand, if Canton is really concerned about that, then Canton can do something about it. Let them come forward, let them try to initiate something. I'm looking at the former thing in Lenox, which was the old hospital, I think, if I'm right, Chris. And what they did was they went on a fundraising thing themselves to save that old building, and they remodeled it and saved it for now it's a museum. Well, is there appetite in the city of Canton or for people who have a relationship with the old courthouse? Are they willing to mount a fund drive? Are they willing to commit dollars? Are they willing to go out and try to assist the county in helping make that decision or lessen the burden on the taxpayers of all the county people to preserve that? So I think these are some discussions that maybe locally, Chad, they should have. Maybe your city council should have, maybe your Chamber of Commerce should have, or other groups could look at that and saying, you know, if we really want to have this thing, what kind of commitment can we make to help in raising the funds necessary to try to do that?
Can I add a couple of things on top of that, Jim?
Yeah.
One being, that is actually something that I, from the very beginning, that crossed my mind of a way of going out and trying to raise these funds, doing what we can. I would be interested if anyone on this committee or if anyone here has any knowledge of how did Minnehaha County do with that when they first built their new courthouse? But obviously their old original courthouse is still there. It's called the Old Courthouse Museum. If you haven't been there, I highly suggest and recommend you go there. There's so much history and that's been preserved in that old courthouse. But how did did Minnehaha County fund that through taxpayer money all? Or was there an effort? I just simply do not know the answer to that because it goes back far enough that, you know, I either was too young or I was not as politically active as I am today. The second thing is an ask that's a very simple one in my mind. We, as a committee, have expressed our opinions individually and as a group of, you know, potentially what direction we think this is headed. I know in talking with, you know, a few people, I can't say I've gone out and knocked on doors in Canton by any means, but generally I know how people I've talked to in Canton feel about it, and they're on board with me, obviously with the historic value of it. But could we do a very simple poll, throw it on the Lincoln County website, and make it as simple as, we're asking for public input, vote on and list the four options, and get a feel from the public of Lincoln County because if there's one that absolutely stands out, I think that could ultimately help us in narrowing down that final decision, as easy or difficult as it could be. Just a suggestion.
One of the things I know that the courthouse in Minnehaha is on the historic register. This building does not qualify for historic register. You may wonder why. Well, it has been remodeled several times in the past, so therefore it doesn't qualify. But that courthouse, I know, in Sioux Falls is on the register. Their original jail is on the register. Several of those court sites buildings are all on the register. And I don't know, Chad, you could find out pretty easy how they funded that. I mean, that has to be part of record somewhere, I mean.
I'm pretty sure it's, just looking at Minnehaha's budget, I think it's from the Courthouse Museum's history page. It said concerned citizens rally together to save it. And then I believe if it's the same thing in Minnehaha County's budget, they give something like almost $2 million, maybe a little less, like $1.8 million to the museum to keep it functional a year.
Per year?
But it's different. I mean, it's a big building and there's a lot of things in there. But that's just what their budget looks like.
And then, so from my understanding from when we were researching this in detail in 2020, this courthouse used to look just like that courthouse. So you've been there, think about how much this has changed to look the way it does compared to what that looks like. So then you gotta, and I'm not positive about this, but I think once you start reaching out and getting grant money like that, if you don't maintain it, you pay all that grant money back. So 20 years from now, we decide it's just eating a hole in our pockets. We have to pay all that money back if we don't want to keep maintaining it. So there's some negative sides to getting grant money to do that.
Is it possible to get a building back to where it could qualify for historic? I'm asking it simply because I do not know the answer to that.
Chad, you would have to take, at one time, where the courtroom is right now, that was kind of a gallery looking down on the courtroom itself.
Yeah.
If you watch the movie To Kill a Mockingbird, they had a courtroom and then they had a whole balcony full of that. And at one time, that was the balcony where that old the big courtroom is right now. So if you were going to try to historically restore that, that would be pretty astronomical as far as expense is concerned.
Jim, are you ready for basic closing statements?
Yeah,
or-
let's get some things done
All
here.
right. So, mind if I go?
Go,
All right.
Mr. Chair, you're,
So, one question, this is, we know the answer to it, but say we do patch the rafters and whatnot on the top, are we gonna be able to get building insurance, by patching? Does that affect how all that goes? When we talked about fire safety, if that goes, this building's gone and basically shortly after. Another thing, so the way I look at everything, I also work for the city of Sioux Falls and we have taxpayer money there. And the way I approach everything within my department is grandma's money. So grandma struggles to pay her property taxes, grandma struggles to do her stuff, and we have to be good stewards of that money. And would grandma appreciate spending her money on that rather than road improvements or things that are needed? That's how I approach everything that I spend. On the other hand, we have enough space now when people leaving to the Justice Center or whatnot. That space over there, do we need it? And what it would be used for? If we start using it for public or whatnot, we're nickel and diming ourselves to death with the HVAC, roofs, leaks, all that sort of stuff, window cracks. And then also if we use it for employees of the county, with everything I just said, is anybody gonna wanna be stationed over there when just down the hallway, there's this building with open space or, so I'm just looking at, it just, to me, dollars, feelings are great, but feelings don't pay bills. And that's how I look at it. You tear that down, you could heck a nice park up there, nice open spot, Veterans Memorial, splash park in the future, whatever it would be, but community center long into the future, but it's a nice green space with big trees and it would look good playing an empty green too.
okay,
And that's my closing.
all right. Commissioner, do we want to have yet another meeting to solidify? Everybody's had a chance to digest these numbers and think about the discussion that we've had tonight and come back and make a final motion to, as you said, there's about 4 options. I see basically 3. I see you either tear down, you remodel, or you lock the door. And that's it. And I mean that from the standpoint that there's nobody, when the new courthouse opens, there's nobody that's going to be using that building. There's no departments that are going to go over there. There's no people that are going to go over there. That building will stand vacant because it's vacant. And Then you got it, what Mr. Jungling has said, there's a priority, so where we spend our money. So my guess is, Joel, do you want it, should we have another meeting? Or, and come to a final issue of recommendation to the commission? Or,
Honestly, we don't need to keep whipping the horse. I think it's all been said tonight.
okay,
I think if the other three commissioners want to go back and watch the videos of this tonight, that'd probably be helpful for them, or we can sum it up for them. And, but I'm just going to say this, I think this issue's, the can's going to get kicked down the road for a little while. I mean, even tearing this thing down, we don't have in our budget. I mean, it's like, what, 3 to 5 miles of road construction money just to tear the building down? More, less? I don't know, one. Okay.
I think the last time Terry said it's like a mile, or it's like a
$1 million.
bill.
$1 million a
million or
mile
million
to
and
bring
half.
a gravel road up to a paved road. Yeah. So, you know, $1 million+ is a lot of paving and, what do they call that?
Slurry seal?
Yeah, all that stuff. That's a lot of road construction that could be done. And so I think just in terms of the willpower of what we're willing to do, it's just we're gonna keep limping the thing along. Look, I'm just being honest. Everybody knows in a big organization, when there's a lot of space, employees will fill the void. And I think, like Commissioner Schmidt was saying, well, one of the options is lock the door. I think you just got people in this building who may want to go over there and probably have their eyes on it. Maybe more so for storage,
I have to tell you,
right?
Joel, Commissioner Landine put out, I don't know if you read the email, that she had a hearing in one of the small courtrooms, and she invited everybody to come and just sit in that courtroom because of the odor, because of the humidity and the heat, and how uncomfortable it was. So I happened to be coming back from Iowa, and I went up there, and I'd have to say it would be the least desirable place to have to spend any time there. And I'm sure, John, that's not your fault, it's just an old building, doesn't have proper stuff. So Commissioner Aaron's, I certainly can recommend to the other three commissioners that they do watch the video tonight. I think we've had a great deal of discussion. You've got some numbers that you can fudge any way you want. You know, I'm hard pressed if I have to try to maintain an old building at the expense of another priority that the county needs, whether it's for roads, bridges, if we need something for our public safety, if we need something for our elections, if we need that. Those are immediate needs, and those take priority over any kind of Band-Aid that we would put over on the old building, so. But
It's a slippery slope, because on one hand, we really don't need to do anything immediately, but at the same time, to wait costs us money. We know that. In time, it costs us money. And we've had other projects like that we said we didn't need to do them, and now we should have done them because it's much more expensive.
I think if you're gravitating towards the demolition option, I think what you should do, because you know that's gonna run us at least 1.2 million. That is a huge line item in a one-year budget. And that is gonna put a lot of strain on other departments. And, you know, Commissioner Schmidt, you've been around longer than me, but on the 6 years I've been around, I have never seen this commission. And and I don't mean this derogatorily, but I mean, I have never seen them take that kind of radical action to rob from Peter to pay Paul. So I just don't know how it gets done. I just don't, I don't even know how demolition occurs, so maybe demolition won't be able to happen until expiration of the next bond. So do you know, Commissioner Schmidt, when the next bond expires?
I think the bond on this building is coming off in,
26 is.
yeah, 26 next year.
Okay, well, that's next year, and maybe, and Paul, do you happen to know what the annual premium is on that?
Let me see if I can find what Sherry said last time.
Because I'm sure a lot of folks already got their eyeball on that line item. Right? I mean, I'll just pull the bark off the tree.
Looking at-
The money's
I mean, if-
already been spent.
If you're just looking at, the provisional budget for 26 compared to the provisional budget for, or the provisional budget for 26 compared to the approved budget for 25, we're looking at it only went up 100,000. So with that thing coming offline, let me see, where's the debt? Okay, there's the debt service. So 26, the debt service is 3 million, I think is the total. And then for 25, the debt service was, yeah, they're similar. But I don't know. Again, I'm not the expert in this. That'd be a Sherry question.
I don't know.
Yeah, and we can dig into that with Sherry. I didn't know if you just could easily pull that up or not. But that is one place to look for potential money, is when a bond expires on this building. But maybe it's negligible.
I think it is, Joel, because we paid down so much.
Right.
And it's kind of like the final payments on any time payment, the last ones are the slowest.
Right.
You're right, Commissioner, we don't have the money to really do anything. If you want to be very honest with you, we got our budget situations that we're gonna have to take a long look at, and it's not gonna get any easier in the future, because, taxpayers have spoken, they don't want to pay that. So we got a few options here to consider, and, I don't know about, I think that you're right. We're not going to do anything this year, and I don't know, maybe we look at next year or the year after. I don't know. And I don't know, John, John, the thing that always stands in my mind is a fire. And you have said very plainly that if that thing started on fire, this whole damn thing would go. Because you wouldn't stop it. No. Because that's a cinder block. I mean, it's dried out. I mean, that thing is, yeah, there's no water suppression. Well, anyway, if there's no other, anybody else have comments? It'd be everything.
I don't think this should be the closing comment, but just for the good of the order, beyond inflation, there are significant costs because codes are changing and updating. So like the HVAC, there's significant costs to new coolant and the systems requirements that go along with that. So as you prolong this year by year, you're not just looking at inflation of materials, you're also looking at the code requirements updating.
Okay.
Need a motion to adjourn?
I would say that on Commissioner Aaron's recommendation that I'll contact the commissioners to take a look and to see what their next move, if they want to have a hard-nosed recommendation from this committee, we can provide that. If not, we've updated, we've got numbers. Is there anything else that you want to talk about?
Not from my point of view, Commissioner Schmidt, but thank you.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
a motion to, we're adjourned, 7:35.
Okay.
Thank you all for coming.